Hi, Emily here from Homemade Emily Jane. I know it's been a little while since I last made a video for you here on YouTube, but I had to make a video to share with you some exciting news. Starting on Monday, August 29th, I will be hosting a sew-along for the Beaming Quilt. The Beaming Quilt sew-along is going to take place over the next 6 weeks, and I'm very excited to make this popular modern star quilt pattern with all of you. If you want more details about the Beaming sew-along, be sure to check out the link in the description below. I have a blog post up on my website with all of these details spelled out for you, and then I also have the link to sign up. So when you sign up for the Beaming sew-along, you'll get emails from me every week reminding you about the progress that we are making on our Beaming quilts. Each week throughout the sew-along, we will have prizes and you'll be entered to win them if you participate. The sew-along is completely free to join, but of course you will need the Beaming quilt pattern. And as a special bonus, everyone who signs up for the sew-along is going to receive a discount code emailed to them to get 20% off the Beaming pattern, which is also good for Beaming Quilt Kits as well, which I'll share more about soon. So make sure you sign up for the Beaming sew-along and then get your Beaming pattern. The Beaming quilt pattern is fun, easy, and actually pretty quick. So while the sew-along will take 6 weeks, I wanted to make sure that we could spread it out and you don't have to work too much each week, and you'll still be able to make the quilt during the sew-along with me. I know you have a life and you're probably working on other projects too. So having this a slower pace sew-along, I hope you'll really enjoy it. The first week, starting on August 29th, is all about picking out fabrics and getting the pattern. So we don't actually start cutting out our fabrics until September. So be sure to sign up now and then join me every step of the way. You can grab the Beaming quilt pattern in my shop either as a PDF download or as a hard copy paper booklet. The paper booklet looks just like this. It's a little 12-page booklet with full color images. It's the same content as the PDF version, but it's just nice to have it mailed and already printed out for you. So let's go ahead and cover the sew-along schedule. As I mentioned earlier, we start on Monday, August 29th. Week 1 will be all about making sure that you get your pattern and your fabrics. I wanted to make sure that we get plenty of time in case you need to order more fabric online, or maybe even if you want to grab one of the kits from my shop. It'll give you some time. If you order now, it'll be to you with plenty of time to join the sew-along. Next on the schedule, the second week starting September 5th, we'll be prepping and cutting out our fabrics for our Beaming quilts. The Beaming pattern is really fantastic, and you can either use a rotary cutter to cut out your pieces or even an AccuQuilt fabric cutting machine. If you want more details about using AccuQuilt, make sure you check out my blog post all about the Beaming quilt pattern. It'll tell you there which dyes I recommend using, and you can check that out even before you decide whether or not you want to make the quilt. Week 3 of the sew-along, we'll be making our flying geese units. So the Beaming pattern uses the 4 at a time flying geese method, or of course if you're using AccuQuilt, you can use the AccuQuilt dies for that instead. Week 4, starting on September 19th, we'll be making our Scrappy Hourglass quilt blocks. If you've looked through the pattern, then you already know what I mean, and if not, you'll be really excited to find out soon. On week 5, starting September 26th, we will piece our quilt blocks together. So we'll combine our flying geese and our Scrappy Hourglass blocks to make our beautiful Beaming star quilt blocks. And finally, week 6, starting on October 3rd, we will turn those blocks into a quilt top. So we'll add our sashing and our borders and sew it all together. As I mentioned, this quilt comes together super quick, so you'll probably only need to devote a short amount of time each week. And I personally will be making the throw size throughout the sew-along. The pattern does include baby, throw, and bed sizes, and you're welcome to choose whichever size you want, and you'll be able to follow along each week throughout the sew-along. Now, I want to share with you a little bit about what makes the Beaming Quilt sew-along different from sew-alongs past. The Beaming Quilt sew-along, you can totally join. If you're an experienced quilter, just sign up for the sew-along, get the pattern, and make it along with us through the emails. But if you are more new to quilting and you want a little bit more hand-holding, guidance, and video tutorials, You're definitely going to want to keep listening for this. I'm hosting a Beaming Quilt class that will be in conjunction with the sew along. Each week I will create videos and give you a little bit more guidance as you make your beaming quilt so that you can make the quilt with confidence and be successful with it. I'll also be much more available for our class members. If you have any questions throughout the sew along, I'll be here to help you as part of the class as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you want some extra help with making your beaming quilt, definitely sign up for the class. The class will be offered specifically within my Patreon membership, which is my online quilting community, and the class will be open to all of the VIP members within the Patreon. So check out patreon.com/homadeemilyjane and find all of the details about the membership there. Not only will you be getting access to the class, but you'll also get access to other fun perks and events such as live sip and sews and the chance to win lots more cool quilty prizes. Now, of course, let's talk a little bit about our sew along sponsors. I have a few sponsors already picked out for prizes each week throughout the sew along, and I am so excited that they've been willing to partner with me for this fun event. Our first sponsor is Riley Blake Designs. The prize from Riley Blake Designs is some really fun fabric pre-cuts as well as this cool little seam ripper. I also partnered with a few different smaller quilt shops as well. You've got to check them out if you don't know of them already. The first one is Social Stitch. Mandy is the owner from Social Stitch, and I actually got to know her more recently in person, and I'm very excited to be quilty friends with this amazing quilt shop owner. The prize from Social Stitch is this beautiful fat quarter bundle. Next up, Rosie Girl Quilting is also a prize sponsor for the sew along. Rosie Girl Quilting has quilt kits for a lot of my different designs, and one of the prizes is a connector quilt kit. So be sure to check them out. The prize is for the lap size quilt kit. Both Social Stitch and Rosie Girl Quilting both have quilt kits available for the beaming pattern. If you want to use one of those kits for the sew along, you should definitely check out their shops. I'll put links in the description below so you can take a look. Some of the other weeks throughout the sew along, I'll also be sponsoring prizes as well. So I have some really cute embroidered baseball caps with stars on them. Those will be offered as prizes, as well as a fat quarter bundle and a quilt pattern. And of course, I want to make sure that my international friends are included as well. So if an international participant wins any of the prizes, unfortunately I won't be able to ship them, but I will gladly exchange your prize for some PDF patterns from my shop to make sure that you still feel included as well and you can win some prizes. And finally, our grand prize is sponsored by Brown Eyed Quilter. Brown Eyed Quilter is a long arm quilting service, and she will be long arming one lucky winner's throw size beaming quilt at the end of the sew along. So check out the description below for all the details on long arm quilting, and be sure to stay tuned. I'll share more about that on the last week of the sew along, so make sure you sign up for that. The prizes specifically for the sew along will be open to everyone who participates, whether you post a picture showing your progress each week on Instagram using hashtag BeamingSAL, or if you don't have Instagram but you want to be entered to win the prizes, you'll have to join the Patreon community for that. So anyone either sharing their progress on Instagram or Patreon will both be entered to win the sew along prizes. The Patreon community also has extra monthly prizes, so you'll definitely want to join to check that out. And finally, I want to share with you a little bit more about the Beaming Quilt Kits that I'm offering in my shop. I currently have 3 different versions of the Beaming Quilt Kits, all for throw size quilts. But of course, it's really easy to also make your own kit because this is a fat quarter friendly quilt pattern. So let me show off some of the kits that I have available. The first off, you might recognize this quilt from when I first released the pattern. This is the green and blue Beaming Quilt Kit, using all blenders and basics from Riley Blake Designs in 5 green colors and 5 blue fabrics that come together to make this gorgeous quilt. Next up is a red, white, and blue Beaming quilt. This is a star quilt. I was actually inspired by all of the fun pictures I saw over 4th of July weekend, and I thought I should make a USA themed quilt as well. So I have kits for this one as well. There are, again, 5 red and 5 blue. You can mix them up, or you can keep them separate like I did with half blue stars and half red stars. So I hope you can check out the kit for that in my shop. And finally, the quilt that I'll be making throughout the sew along, I'll be using these pink fat quarters and a navy background to make this really fun beaming quilt. Those are the 3 kits that I have available. All of the kits include fabric for the quilt top, binding fabric, and of course a paper copy of the Beaming Quilt Pattern. When you sign up for the sew along, you'll get an email from me welcoming you to the sew along, and it'll also include a discount code. That discount code is valid for the quilt kits as well while supplies last, so make sure that you get on that before the sew along starts. And then of course 2 of my sponsors have quilt kits. I definitely want to show them off here for you. The first one is the Rosy Girl Quilting Quilt Kit. I love the way that they used neutrals in their fabric pull. I think it's really beautiful, and I think it could really go well into home decor if you have a more neutral home. And last but certainly not least, we have this floral star quilt. This quilt kit is from Social Stitch, and I really love how the stars pop against the white background. So check out the links for all of these quilt kits in the description below and go ahead and grab your favorite. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you'll consider joining the Beaming Quilt Sew Along. If you have any questions that I did not address here in this video, be sure to drop a comment in the comment section below, or feel free to send me an email or reach out on my website, homemadeemilyjane.com. I can't wait to start this Beaming Quilt Sew Along with you. Happy sewing!